Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Vienna. We'll get you updates on his program there, as well as stories from his just concluded monumental visit to Russia. Let's begin with the headlines. After a successful state visit to Russia, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Vienna, the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister in over 40 years. Prime Minister Narendra Modi receives the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle, Russia's highest state award from President Vladimir Putin. On Russia-Ukraine conflict, the Prime Minister stresses on dialogue and diplomacy to find a solution. US President Joe Biden hosts NATO's 75th anniversary summit in Washington, D.C. The Ukraine conflict tops the agenda. Monsoon mayhem continues across India. Heavy rains lash Mumbai, Assam, Uttarakhand, Bihar, and several other parts of the country. Well, after concluding a fruitful visit to Russia, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Vienna in Austria a short while ago. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi, was received at the airport by Austria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the Prime Minister will meet Austria's President Alexander Van der Bellen, as well as the Chancellor Karl Nehammer. Austria is India's steadfast friend, a reliable partner. Both the countries share the values of democracy and pluralism, which are ideals. And this is the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister in over 40 years. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has had a successful visit to Russia, and now he's in Austria's capital, Vienna. An Indian Prime Minister is visiting Austria. This is after 40 years, over 40 years in fact. And this visit also marks 75 years of diplomatic relations. But it also takes this relationship forward, as DD India correspondent Gautam Roy reports.
An Indian Prime Minister landing on Austrian soil after over 40 years, when the two nations are also marking 75 years of their friendship.
The visit is going to give great dynamism to this partnership. It's going to give the high-level political visibility that this relationship requires, and it's a relationship that has been performing reasonably well. And with this visit, we expect it to gain dynamism and content.
The substantial part of Prime Minister Modi's Austria visit will be unfolding on Wednesday, where he'll not only call on Austria's President Alexander Van der Bellen at the Hofburg Palace, but also hold delegation-level talks with his Austrian counterpart, Federal Chancellor Karl Nehammer, at the Federal Chancellery after receiving a ceremonial reception. The day will also see the Prime Minister meeting key Austrian influencers. But another highlight for Wednesday will be the maiden Austria-India CEOs meeting, where an effort will be made to give further impetus to the business ties between the two nations, including their respective startup ecosystems.
Indian companies that are operating in Austria, and there are several Austrian companies operating in India. And as part of the program, there will be an interaction with Indian and Austrian CEOs to try and see how we can move this partnership forward, especially in niche technologies, clean technologies, and also in terms of bringing some of our startups together. There is a good groundwork has already been laid, and what we need is a quantum leap in this partnership, and this is what I think this visit will succeed in doing.
Vienna is also the city of Western classical music, which was the home to great composers such as Mozart and Beethoven, among others. And he also got a melodic reception from Vienna University Philharmonic, whose director is also an Indian diaspora member. Clearly, there are multiple elements to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Austria visit, which have the potential of taking its ties with India to greater heights in several aspects of the relationship.
In just the last few months, India and Austria have added new elements to their already extensive relations, such as a comprehensive migration and mobility agreement, as well as an India-Austria startup bridge. But there are many more areas that are still left to be fully explored, be it semiconductors or AI, advanced telecommunications, aerospace, and much progress can be expected to be made in this historic Austria visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. With camera person Rakesh Singh, Gautam Roy, Vienna, Austria, DD India.
Well, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Austria is a much-awaited trip because the last such prime ministerial visit to this key European country took place more than 4 decades ago. And India already has a special place in the hearts of many Austrians and other nationalities as well, who have made Austria their home over the last few years, including the Indian diaspora. Gautam Roy tells us more.
Be it yoga, Ayurveda, or traditional art and culture like Bharatanatyam, India has had a special place due to its soft power in distant lands for centuries. Radha Anjali, her given name by her Indian guru, is of Austrian parentage, married to an Iranian and running a Bharatanatyam school, Natya Mandir, in Austria's capital Vienna since the 80s. She says, as India has been gaining global prominence in recent years, interest in its art, culture and traditions has also been growing.
Performed almost all over Europe and in India, and well, I'm dancing the last maybe 45 years. Many years before, Indian culture was very much unknown, and during the last 10-20 years it is much more prominent.
Radha Anjali's students in Vienna come from different parts of the world as they are drawn to India's mesmerizing dance forms and classical music, apart from those with Indian origins looking to remain connected with their roots.
Born in India, in Rajasthan actually, and just so we were quite disconnected from our culture originally, and it's a very good way to reconnect and to actually know more in detail what's the Indian culture all about.
I was always mesmerized by it, and I also grew up watching Bollywood and dance videos when I was in Bangladesh and also here, so it kind of was in me to like this kind of dances.
I did yoga, a lot of yoga. I did my study in yoga at yoga teacher, and I were in Indian, and it was for me completely wow, Bharatanatyam.
I did Bharatanatyam a bit when I was a child in Sri Lanka, and I took a break due to a number of reasons. And after coming to Vienna, I wanted to get back to dancing. I was doing a bit of African dancing, but I felt that I needed to get back to Bharatanatyam. It just feels more connected.
As India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits Austria, it's only natural for all things Indian to figure even more prominently in the host country, leading to more awareness, interactions and proximities between the two cultures and people. India has always had deep wells of art, culture and traditional knowledge to draw from for any individual from any part of the world. But with rising consciousness about India, its economic prowess or even the capabilities of its individuals, there are imprints of India now all over the world, and Austria is no stranger to it. With camera person Pramod Negi, Gautam Roy in Vienna for DD India.
Well, upon concluding his visit to Russia, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has proceeded, as we know, to Austria, where he's arrived on the second leg of his tour. The Austrian ambassador to India, Katharina Weiser, talked to our correspondent about the Indian Prime Minister's visit there, the first in 40 years, over 40 years, with this also marking 75 years of bilateral relations.
This is really a very important visit for us. It is the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister, as you mentioned, after 41 years to Austria, 40 years after an Austrian Federal Chancellor visited India. And this visit is taking place in a year when we are celebrating 75 years of bilateral relations. So we are happy about that fact also, that this high-level visit is now sort of a manifestation of the very good place that we are in at the level of our bilateral relations.
Well, the ambassador also mentioned about economic relations of the two countries, highlighting that it's the most important part of the bilateral relationship.
Our bilateral economic and business relationship is a very important central part of our bilateral relationship. We have been improving that also over the past years. There's more interest, not only from Austrian companies, but also from other companies. There's a more international focus and interest also in what is happening in India. And also from Austrian company side, obviously, we have 150 Austrian, so subsidiaries of Austrian companies in India.
Well, the Indian diaspora, they have expressed their happiness with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit. They've said that it's a matter of pride for them that an Indian Prime Minister is visiting Austria. Let's listen to what they've said.
It's been over 40 years since an Indian Prime Minister visited India, so a long wait for the 31,000 strong Indian diaspora is ending today. Let's try and find out what are their aspirations and with what kind of hope have they come to greet Prime Minister Modi here in Vienna today. Could you tell us your name and what has brought you here? Prime Minister Modi is coming here. You're all dressed up, it seems, to see him.
We are super happy and excited to meet Prime Minister, and we would like to congratulate him for the third time he is winning the elections, and we are super happy.
We are very happy to receive Mr. Modi here, and we would look forward definitely to easier visa processes and easier, parents can come in for longer periods and things like that. That is something I would definitely personally look forward to.
I'm very happy, and this is a very proud moment to meet Prime Minister.
40-year-long wait is coming to an end when India and Austria are also celebrating 75 years of their friendly relations, and there are a lot of expectations as well, and we'll have to wait and see what all can be fulfilled in this one visit and then, of course, in the future as well. With camera person Rakesh Kumar, Gautam Roy, Vienna, Austria, DD India.
Well, after wrapping up his visit to Russia, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Austria. This is the second leg of his visit. And ahead of that visit, before he had left, the Austrian ambassador to India, Katharina Weiser, spoke to Amritpal Singh, our correspondent. Let's listen to this interview to get a broader perspective of what's expected from this visit.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in the Austrian capital Vienna on Tuesday evening for a bilateral visit. It is an important visit to a Central European country because this visit comes after 41 years that an Indian Prime Minister visits Austria. To talk more about that visit, I have with me the Austrian ambassador to India, Katharina Weiser. Thank you, Ambassador Weiser, for speaking to us. How important is this visit, and why is this visit so important?
Thank you for inviting me. And yes, you're right, this is really a very important visit for us. It is the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister, as you mentioned, after 41 years to Austria, 40 years after an Austrian Federal Chancellor visited India. And this visit is taking place in a year when we are celebrating 75 years of bilateral relations. So we are happy about that fact also, that this high-level visit is now sort of a manifestation of the very good place that we are in at the level of our bilateral relations.
How close are the political relations between the two countries, Ambassador?
I think we can really say that we have an excellent and long-standing good relationship. So all through these 75 years, there have never been really bad phases that we had to overcome. We've had a very steady and long-lasting good relationship with each other. But I think we can say that in the past years, there has been a special dynamic in our relationship. Also at the political level, there have been several political meetings between our foreign ministers in particular. They have met 7-8 times over the past 2 years. They've established a very good working relationship with each other. Last year, 2 years ago, the speakers of both houses of Austrian Parliament came to visit India. The Austrian Minister of Labour and Economy came and visited this year for a whole week. And also Prime Minister Modi actually met our foreign minister when he briefly was Chancellor of the Republic of Austria in Glasgow in the margins of one of the COP meetings. So in the past years, at the political level also, there have been many, many visits. Minister Jaishankar came to Vienna at the beginning of last year, also after a long period, I think of 27 years when no Indian foreign minister had visited Austria.
Excellency, we talk about the economic relations between the two countries. The bilateral trade last year was close to about $3 billion US dollars. Do you see a more potential for increasing this and increased bilateral cooperation, economic cooperation, and would that figure in the talks between the two leaders?
Absolutely. So our bilateral economic and business relationship is a very important central part of our bilateral relationship. We have been improving that also over the past years. There's more interest, not only from Austrian companies, but also from other companies. There's a more international focus and interest also in what is happening in India. And also from Austrian company side, obviously. We have 150 Austrian, so subsidiaries of Austrian companies in India. Austria is well known as a high-tech country. So that is what we do. We are very, very good in that sector. And that is also central to our business engagement in India. So we are very much into high-tech machinery and tools. Many of our companies are invested in infrastructure development. You will find Austrian companies everywhere, whether it's the railway sector or water power sector or smart cities development or automotive sector, for example.
Ambassador, when the Austrian Labour Minister was here this February, there was an understanding on a startup bridge which has been talked for a very long time. This time when the Prime Minister meets the CEOs at the business forum, there are a sizable number of CEOs from the startups as well participating. So where is that partnership going?
Startups is sort of, in everybody's mouth nowadays. You are right, bilateral startup bridge was launched in the presence of the Austrian Minister of Labour and Economy when he came to visit India in February. But even before that, startup cooperation had been going on. There were 5 startup missions going both ways. Austria is a very important startup ecosystem, a startup ecosystem. I think there are nearly 4,000 startups in Austria, and we're trying at the regulatory level also to do a lot to promote startups. India, as we know, is also a very good startup ecosystem. So obviously, it was logical that we would try and cooperate more at that level. We think innovation is
It's a much-awaited visit to Austria. The two countries are also expected. In fact, here are visuals of the Prime Minister having arrived at the hotel in Vienna, where he will be staying. And as we can see, a large Indian community presence is there to welcome him. As always, young children presenting the Prime Minister with their creations, some nice artwork that the Prime Minister has commented upon, and always nice to see your countrymen when you are abroad, and they are also very happy to interact with the Prime Minister of India. Obviously a matter of immense importance for them, something that they will cherish for the rest of their lives. Prime Minister meeting and interacting with members of the Indian community at the hotel where he arrived a short while ago. And on Wednesday, the Prime Minister has a packed schedule. In fact, he will also be addressing a community event later in the day in which the Indian community will be participating. the Indian diaspora, as we heard also from our correspondent, they have expressed considerable happiness at this visit. It's a matter of pride for them. And it's important also that the ambassador was saying that the economic part of this relationship is driving the relationship at the current time, because that is the relationship on which the diaspora would also be dependent. Many of them are there to do business. Some of them have sought jobs, especially in high-tech areas. And so this is an important aspect of the relationship, that it continues in that direction. Also, cultural ties, since India has a rich culture, and so does Vienna. Gautam is with us. Our correspondent Gautam is in Vienna, and he's been sending us numerous reports. Gautam, put into context what we are seeing. The Prime Minister arriving in the hotel a short while ago, interacting with children, interacting with others of the Indian community. Fill us in with some of the details.
Yes, Mark, it's quite an occasion here for the Indian diaspora, 31,000 strong, that an Indian Prime Minister has come to Austria after a gap of 40 years. In a year when 75 years of the India-Austria ties are being marked, and they've been waiting for it with a lot of anticipation. People of all age groups, segments of society, as well as of different ethnic backgrounds, but all Indian, young and old, waiting for him. You could see in the pictures how the Prime Minister was greeted with chants of Modi, Modi and Bharat Mata Ki Jai, which is a general refrain when Prime Minister Modi reaches any foreign land where there's Indian diaspora presence in good strength. And that is also the case in Austria. And he also interacted with children here. There was a little girl that I spoke to, and she was very happy because the Prime Minister asked her name when she presented a poster to him that she had herself painted. That sort of congratulated him on his third term as well, and he said that apna naam bataiye, and he asked someone who's with him to note down her name and promised her that he will write a letter to her. So the people are very happy with this sort of a personalized engagement with Prime Minister Narendra Modi as he arrives. He's already had a long trip, really, one leg of the journey done in Russia, but he's been known to be a tireless person. And although it was slightly delayed his arrival here, these people have been waiting for him, about 150 strong contingent, because 130 people had been invited by the embassy here of the Indian diaspora, but many of them were really looking forward to meeting him, so I'm sure the numbers were exceeded. People also brought along their children here, and then they finally got to meet him, and a long wait for them has been.
रोमांचित कर देने वाला क्षण जब विदेश की धरती पर
Well, we shall get that visual once again. We shall hopefully get the sound. This is a very interesting 50-member contingent of the Vienna University Philharmonic is playing Vande Mataram for the Prime Minister, and the director is Vijay Upadhyay, who is an Indian origin person, originally from Lucknow. Of course, the Prime Minister very happy and applauding that. But we shall hopefully hear it with the music as well once we get an edited shot of that. Prime Minister continuing to interact with members of the Indian community in Vienna at the hotel. Well, the country is close to India in terms of future technologies. They're looking at newer areas such as artificial intelligence. Let's say that the next generation of technologies and investments are likely to come in these sectors. The linkages have been strong and they're continuing to grow. They appear small when you look at the comparison to other countries, but one must understand also in the larger context of Europe and the role that Austria plays in it. These investments they have long-term benefits. We know that there are two key agreements that have been signed recently, as Gautam was mentioning in his report. One is a startup bridge that was launched in February, and then also a comprehensive migration and mobility agreement that was signed after that. So these are key foundational sort of agreements which will pave the way for deeper cooperation in emerging technologies. Austria offers excellent opportunities for bilateral cooperation in sectors such as infrastructure, renewable energy, high technology, startup, media, entertainment. This is what India's Foreign Secretary Vinay Quatra had said at a press conference a little earlier. Well, that was fascinating to hear. Of course, the Indian community always happy to see Prime Minister Narendra Modi, but a very unique surprise in a sense, a welcome for the Prime Minister. 50-member contingent of the Vienna University Philharmonic, and they played Vande Mataram in both, let's say, Western and Indian traditions. So it was a bit of a fusion and quite well received. The director of that orchestra is Vijay Upadhyay, a man of Indian origin. We understand that the cultural bridge between the two countries is strong and continues. And this is not something new. It goes back to the time of Rabindranath Tagore. So the two countries have been building on their cultural connections for long. And it's good to see that the university or the students are taking this forward in a deeper and stronger way. Well, it's good to see the Indian connection there continuing with the Vienna circle in terms of music. We know that Zubin Mehta also conducted the Vienna Philharmonic for a reasonable period of time. And he, of course, retains his Indian citizenship, even though he has truly brought laurels to the country abroad. Prime Minister Narendra Modi greeting members of the Indian community in Vienna. The Prime Minister will be interacting with his counterpart Nehamar later in the day today. And this is an important visit, as we've said. It focuses on new areas, and it is the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 41 years. There have been continued high-level exchanges, even presidential visits, both from Austria to India and India to Austria, but this is the first time a Prime Minister, the head of the executive, has visited that country in 41 years. There have also been visits at the parliamentary level. In fact, speakers of each other's parliaments have interacted. So the values of democracy have been strong. The values of rule of law, democracy, rich in both countries. Prime Minister also, as we know, is making this visit. This is the first bilateral visit that he's made, of course, to Russia and Austria together. The two-nation visit is the first visit that he is making since taking office for a third term. The visit for the G7 summit was a multilateral visit. So we'll continue to get you updates as and when we get them from Austria. But for the moment, we'll continue to focus on the Prime Minister's visit to Austria. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's much-awaited Austria visit. The two nations are also looking to deepen their cooperation in tech and startup sectors, as Gautam Roy reports.
Technology is an area where India and Austria can really take their cooperation really far. And the India-Austria Startup Bridge is one new initiative that has taken place. We're trying to find out more about it. We have with us Kambis Kohonsa Vayaga with us. He's the representative as far as startups is concerned for the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber. Thank you for speaking to DD India. Kambis, what can you tell us about this initiative, and to what extent are there plans to take it forward as well? Because right now it's in a very nascent stage.
Yeah, great to be here. The initiative has different aspects to it. So several months ago, we had our biggest tech festival here in Austria, the Vienna Up, and we had a huge Indian delegation, the biggest of all the international countries. And the goal was to bring Indian startups to Austria, but also vice versa, bring Austrian startups to India. Apart from that, we have a strong focus on universities. So we want to share research and development, focus on spin-offs in Austria and India as well. And then again, having this matchmaking between market access, know-how, talent and capital.
Wonderful. We have Shankar as well with us. Shankar Reddy is a founding member of Indian Professional Network Association in Vienna in Austria. Shankar, what can you tell us about the scope of the kind of collaboration that India and Austria can have in the field of technology and, of course, the startup ecosystems?
India and Austria are growing more and more in terms of diversification. And very recent times we have seen the mobility agreement signed between India and Austria, wherein which Austria is purely looking and focusing for the highly skilled employees to be placed in Austrian startups and Austrian companies, wherein which Austrian authorities and Austria as a whole is also looking for the Indian skill and Indian talent to flourish this market.
So it seems to be all about opening up new avenues for collaboration to ensure that not only the fact that there is market access which is being sought in a cross manner, but also there are openings and there are future prospects for professionals as well in both the countries. With camera person Rakesh Kumar, Gautam Roy in Vienna, Austria, DD India.
The 22nd India-Russia Annual Summit was held in Moscow. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Russian President Vladimir Putin held discussions on several issues that included Ukraine conflict. Prime Minister Modi assured the Russian President that India is in favor of peace.
PM Modi's visit to Kremlin marks a significant chapter in the long-standing relationship between India and Russia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin convened for the 22nd Annual Bilateral Summit, underscoring the deep ties between the two nations. India reiterated a clear policy of dialogue and diplomacy to end the conflict between Russia and Ukraine.
शांति की बहाली में भारत हर संभव सहयोग करने के लिए तैयार है और आपका भी सानुकूल विचार सुनकर के मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई और मैं भी आपको भी आश्वस्त करता हूं और विश्व समुदाय को भी आश्वस्त करता हूं कि भारत शांति के पक्ष में है और शांति के लिए मेरे मित्र राष्ट्रपति पुतिन की कल बातों को सुनकर के मेरे मन में एक आशा पैदा हुई है और मैं इसके लिए आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं.
Russian President appreciated the India-Russia cooperation in sectors such as that of trade, commerce, security, innovation, and thanked Prime Minister Modi for his efforts in Russia-Ukraine conflict.
Russia-India relations at present constitute a special and privileged strategic partnership. I appreciate the attention you pay to the most pressing issues, including your efforts to find ways to resolve the Ukraine crisis, primarily through peaceful means.
Central to their discussions are pressing economic issues and the geopolitical matters that included terrorism and availability of fuel globally. Describing Russia as India's all-weather friend, Prime Minister Narendra Modi praised President Putin's leadership in fortifying this enduring partnership over the past 2 decades.
जब दुनिया फूड, फ्यूल एंड फर्टिलाइजर के संकट से गुजर रही थी, हमारी मित्रता और हमारे सहयोग के कारण मैं मेरे देश के किसानों को फर्टिलाइजर में मुसीबत में नहीं आने दिया। फर्टिलाइजर की उनकी जो आवश्यकता है उसकी पूरी करने में हम सफल रहे और उसमें हमारी मित्रता का भी बहुत बड़ा रोल है और किसानों के हितों की रक्षा के लिए हम कमिटेड हैं।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the All-Russian Exhibition Center in Moscow, where President Vladimir Putin accompanied him. The two leaders toured the Rosatom Pavilion, which is one of the largest exhibitions on the history of scientific and technological developments. Earlier in the day, Prime Minister Modi laid a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Moscow. The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier is a war memorial located at the Kremlin Wall, Moscow, that is dedicated to the Soviet soldiers who lost their lives during the Second World War. With Jessica Taneja and Tripti Tripachi's inputs, Tanvi Taneja for DD India.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacted with the Indian community in Russia at an event held in Moscow. And while interacting with them, the Prime Minister referred to the visible transformation that India has seen in the last 10 years. He added that the objective of his government is to make India the third largest economy in the world in his third tenure. And the Prime Minister underlined that through this commitment and committed efforts, India is making significant contributions to global prosperity as a Vishwa Bandhu, a friend to the world.
It was all excitement, warmth and affection among the Indian community in Moscow when they saw Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It was even more special as PM addressed them for the first time in his third tenure. He lauded their contribution in enhancing the India-Russia relationship. PM referred to the visible transformation in India in the last 10 years.
अपने तीसरे टर्म में मैं 3 गुनी ताकत से काम करूंगा। और ये भी एक संयोग है कि सरकार के कई लक्ष्यों में भी 3 का अंक छाया हुआ है। सरकार का लक्ष्य है तीसरे टर्म में भारत को दुनिया की तीसरी सबसे बड़ी इकोनॉमी बनाना।
PM Modi said that India's new momentum of growth will write a new chapter in the development of the world.
सेमीकंडक्टर से इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग तक, ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन से इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल तक और वर्ल्ड क्लास इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, भारत की नई गति दुनिया के विकास का, और मैं बहुत जिम्मेवारी से कह रहा हूं, दुनिया के विकास का अध्याय लिखेगी। आज ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी की ग्रोथ में 15% भारत कंट्रीब्यूट कर रही है।
Prime Minister noted that India, through its committed efforts from tackling climate change to meeting sustainable development goals, is making significant contribution to global prosperity as a Vishwa Bandhu or a friend to the world.
21वीं सदी भारत की सदी है। आज विश्व बंधु के रूप में भारत दुनिया को नया भरोसा दे रहा है। न्यू इमर्जिंग मल्टीपोलर वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर में भारत को एक मजबूत पिलर के रूप में देखा जा रहा है। जब भारत पीस, डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी की बात कहता है तो पूरी दुनिया सुनती है.
PM lauded the efforts of the Indian community to nurture and nourish Indian cultural traditions in Russia and share its vibrancy with the Russian people. He encouraged the Indian community to continue playing a proactive role in forging a stronger and deeper partnership with Russia. He mentioned that a decision to open 2 new Indian consulates in Kazan and Ekaterinburg has been taken, which would give further boost to people-to-people ties. With inputs from Jessica Taneja in Moscow, Raghav Kumar Jha, DD India, New Delhi.
Well, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday received Russia's highest award. It's a state award, which is the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle in the First Order. And in fact, this is for his outstanding efforts to promote partnership and friendship between India and Russia. So the Prime Minister is the first Indian leader to be conferred with this award, and the award was instituted 300 years ago. While accepting the award, Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicated it to the people of India for the strong traditional bonds of friendship between India and Russia. On Tuesday, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi officially received Russia's most prestigious civilian honor, the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle. The award recognizes PM Modi's distinguished contribution to developing a privileged strategic partnership between Russia and India and fostering friendly ties between the two countries.
ये सम्मान केवल मेरा सम्मान नहीं है. यह 140 करोड़ भारतवासियों का सम्मान है. यह भारत और रूस की सदियों पुरानी गहरी मित्रता और आपसी विश्वास का सम्मान है.
The latest award is another feather in his cap. Over the years, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been honored by countries and organizations worldwide for his exceptional leadership and contributions. Some of these awards include: on March 22, 2024, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was conferred the Order of the Druk Gyalpo, Bhutan's highest civilian decoration, by the King of Bhutan in a public ceremony at Thimphu. On 25th August 2023, the Indian Prime Minister was conferred with the Grand Cross of the Order of Honor by President Katerina Sakalaropoulou of Greece. On July 13, 2023, PM Modi was conferred with France's highest award, the Grand Cross of the Legion of Honor in Paris. On June 25, 2023, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi conferred the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi with its highest civilian honor, the Order of the Nile in Cairo. On May 22, 2023, PM Modi was conferred the highest honor of Fiji, the Companion of the Order of Fiji, in recognition of his global leadership. On December 21, 2020, the US President Donald Trump conferred the highest decoration, the Legion of Merit, degree Chief Commander, to PM Modi. The Legion of Merit is the highest degree of the Chief Commander and is a prestigious award conferred by the US President. On August 24, 2019, PM Modi was conferred the King Hamad Order of the Renaissance during his visit to Bahrain in recognition of his efforts to strengthen bilateral relations with the Gulf nation. On August 24, 2019, PM Modi was honored with UAE's highest civilian award, the Order of Zayed, in recognition of his pivotal role in building the strategic relationship between the two countries. On June 8, 2019, PM Modi was conferred with the Maldives' highest honor, the Rule of Nishan Izzuddin, during his state visit to that country. On February 10, 2018, PM Modi was conferred the Grand Collar of the State of Palestine, the highest Palestinian honor for foreign dignitaries. On April 3, 2016, during his visit to Saudi Arabia, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was conferred Saudi Arabia's highest civilian honor, the King Abdulaziz Sash. Apart from the highest civilian honors, PM Modi has also been conferred with several awards by prestigious organizations across the globe. In 2019, PM Modi was conferred the Global Goalkeeper Award by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. The first ever Philip Kotler Presidential Award was given to the Indian Prime Minister in 2019. This award is offered annually to the leader of a nation. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was conferred with the Champions of the Earth 2018 Award for Peaceful Leadership by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Champions of the Earth is the highest UN honor in the field of environment. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was conferred with the prestigious Seoul Peace Prize for 2018. It is awarded biennially to those individuals by Seoul Peace Prize Cultural Foundation who have made their mark through contributions to the harmony of mankind, reconciliation between nations, and to world peace. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is a people's leader dedicated to solving their problems and improving their well-being. Fuzail Ahmed's report for DD India. And moving on to some other news that's in the headlines, the US President Joe Biden is hosting NATO heads in Washington, D.C. This is as he is prioritizing restoring US alliances abroad to counter autocracies in his foreign policy. Delivering the remarks at the NATO Summit Defense Industry Forum, the White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan outlined a series of measures to strengthen US and NATO support for Ukraine. On Tuesday, as the leaders of this military alliance gathered in Washington, D.C. This is for this summit. And Sullivan also said that NATO will announce a new military command in Germany in the coming days, led by a 3-star general for training and equipping Ukrainian troops, and also appointing a senior representative in Kiev. This is to deepen its relationship with the alliance.
NATO will also announce robust new measures of support, including a new NATO military command in Germany, led by a 3-star general, that will launch a training, equipping, and force development program for Ukrainian troops. A pledge from all allies to collectively provide Ukraine with at least 40 billion euros worth of security assistance this next year. And a new NATO senior representative in Kyiv, appointed by Secretary General Stoltenberg, who you'll hear from in a moment, who will deepen Ukraine's institutional relationship with the alliance and serve as the focal point for NATO's engagement with senior Ukrainian officials.
Well, when it rains, it pours. India's monsoon fury has thrown life out of gear in places from the west to the east of the country. Over 3,000 villages across 27 districts in Assam remain inundated. More than 48,000 flood victims are living in relief camps. In fact, the rain has forced several families to be evacuated as well in the hill states of Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. Mihir Maikuri reports.
Various parts of the country are struggling to cope with the incessant rains. In India's financial capital, Mumbai, incessant rains since Sunday night continue to cause waterlogging in many areas. The Colaba area recorded the highest rainfall at 144.5 millimeters. Heavy rainfall was also reported in Baikula, Matunga, Sion and Vikhroli. The city's vital local trains were affected by the downpour. Mumbai's civic body, BMC, has deployed water pumps at various locations to drain flood waters. Due to the heavy rainfall, holidays have been declared in several districts including Mumbai, Pune, Sindhudurg and Raigarh. And both campuses of Mumbai University have been closed as a precaution. Heavy monsoon rains are wreaking havoc on the hills of the country. Following heavy rainfall in parts of Uttarakhand's Kumaon region, in Udham Singh Nagar district, due to waterlogging at several locations, 850 members from 232 families have been moved to safe places. In Banbasa, Champawat district, nearly 170 flood-affected individuals have also been relocated to safe areas.
जहां संपर्क नहीं हो पा रहा है, पुल बह गए हैं, वहां पर कुछ वैली ब्रिज भेजे जा रहे हैं. उन सबको हमारा पूरा प्रयास है कि सबसे पहले जो है हमारा जो जनजीवन जो काफी प्रभावित हुआ है वो सामान्य.
Spell of heavy rains is also causing significant inconvenience in the Himalayan state of Himachal Pradesh, especially in its capital Shimla. The Met Office forecasts heavy rainfall across most parts of the state until 10th to 12th of July.
शिमला की बात करें सिटी की तो 44 mm के आसपास बारिश रिकॉर्ड की गई थी. कसौली, रामपुर, कुफरी, पंडो है, यहाँ पे मॉडरेट रेनफॉल थी और बाकी क्षेत्रों में हल्की बारिश रिपोर्ट की गई थी.
In India's northeastern state of Assam, recent days have seen a decrease in rainfall, gradually improving the flood situation. The flood-related deaths in Assam has surpassed 70. The Brahmaputra and 8 other rivers continue to flow above danger levels in several critical areas. Over 3,000 villages across 27 districts remain inundated, affecting over 1.8 million people. The hardest hit districts include Barpeta, Darang, Golaghat and South Salmara. So far, more than 48,000 flood victims have taken refuge in 543 relief camps. Heavy rains in Uttar Pradesh's Ayodhya have caused the Saryu River to rise, leading to flood-like situations. Similarly, in the state of Bihar, the Gandak River's increased water level has triggered floods in Gopalganj district, submerging villages and causing hardship for residents evacuating their homes. Mihir Makri, reporting for DD India.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD News Hour, and also our focus on the Prime Minister's visits to both Russia and Vienna, Austria. And for those of you on the go, you can get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India app. It's a mobile app available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lin from all of us here in Delhi. Thank you very much for watching this special program.